Hi, this is Erin again with ECKOArt and Transcendent, Lucis, and ECKO Certified Sound Healing. And I am continuing with my explanation of the psychic and paranormal photography that I've done over the years. So we'll go on to this image. The space around us, it's not empty. There's a consciousness field that surrounds us all of the time, and there are myriad levels and types of beings that interact through this, that exist in this consciousness field. So you may not be able to see it, but there are beings around you all of the time. They're in the space around us, and oftentimes when they try to manifest so that we can experience them, they use things in the physical 3D realm to draw energy from them so that they can manifest into the physical so that we can experience them. Sometimes they'll use rocks, sometimes they'll use trees. This particular one was using the atmosphere where the clouds were. They can use, obviously they use batteries. Everybody knows that ghost hunters, have battery problems when they're using equipment in the field. So this being is one of the beings that came forth when I asked specifically for beings to do that. I will go out there, or I have done this. I haven't been doing it recently because, well, I'll get to that. But I haven't been doing it. But when I used to go out and try to get these beings to come out and show themselves so that I could have some verification of my experiences to show people, because I believed that if they were educated and more well informed, they would make more informed choices, because they would understand the reality around them in a different way. We're not told everything about this reality. Part of it is the beings that are running things on this planet don't know everything about this reality. And part of it is that they do know a lot about it and they don't want you to. At any rate, without going down that road, this is a giant being. It's humongous, and it came forth from the clouds. And this is an extremely crude sketch that I did of this being that is on this side. Now there's an eye. I'm going to outline it for you. And there's an eye. And here's the nose. And here's the lips, the top lip, and then the bottom lip, and the chin. So there's the jawline. And it's like a little bit sideways. So it's almost a profile, but not quite. It's like at a maybe 45-degree angle. And so it looks like it has either a headdress on, like an Egyptian style headdress, or an elongated skull. Because if you come around here, that's what it looks like. It looks like a long skull. So, whoops. So when I asked if anyone wanted to be in my photos, this is one of the beings that came forward that wanted to be known that it existed. So here it is. They're conscious beings that exist in other dimensions from where we are. And they can interact here when they choose to, when they have the right energy circumstances to do so. So it's not just the ghosts of people that have passed, which is, ghosts is one thing. The spirit of your ancestors is another. And all of these things exist, and people sometimes experience them. Sometimes people experience higher things. Higher, when I say higher, I mean higher in frequency, higher in vibration. And sometimes they express or experience lower things. At any rate, most people have had what they think at some point is like a ghost out of the corner of their eye they've seen, or maybe felt like an ancestor communicated with them, after they passed on. So once you start to open up your ability to perceive these other things, you have full on immersive interactions with these beings. So like when I see something like that in the sky, I don't just see it. So it's not like, what do they call it? Pareidolia, that disorder where they say that it's, the brain trying to make something out of a pattern. This is not that. This is fully immersive, like all your clear senses, like you're feeling it and seeing it and hearing it and smelling it, sometimes hearing it, sometimes not. Everybody's abilities are a little bit different in different areas. So when I'll see something like this, most often I'm also feeling it disturbing my energy field out away from my body at some point. Sometimes way up in the sky, I can feel it disturbing my energy field, and I'll actually feel it disturbing a chakra. So, and if you don't know what a chakra is, those are the energy points in the human body, which we can get to in another video. But it's not just seeing them and looking for patterns. This is actually a full-on experience with beings that exist around us. And because people can only see a very limited portion of the light spectrum, and they, I like to point out, can't hear as well as their dogs, there's a lot that goes on around us that we don't have access to. And so there's been debate about that whole saying about people using only 10% of their brains. It's a little bit more complex than that, but it's not, that's not just a myth. People are not using their full capacity in their mind. They're not using all of their DNA. The DNA that's dormant, it's not junk. So different people have different capabilities depending on their genetics and all of that. But most people that are fairly healthy or even reasonably healthy at all, and some that aren't even healthy, have the ability to access these things. You can get to a point where you maybe have damaged so much of your body doing whatever that you can't maybe turn on your abilities at that point. I think pretty much anything can be healed if you know what you're doing. That doesn't mean I've got it all figured out. But what I'm saying is, everyone within reason has the ability to turn on their ability to perceive these things. And so once you start to imagine, okay, there might be something there that I'm not told, then you're not going to filter it out. It doesn't mean you have to walk around looking for things. It means you have to understand that maybe you don't understand reality around you, and you might be looking at it through a filter. And oftentimes when people do experience things, what they will do is they will turn it off. They'll just, no, that wasn't real. It was a figment of my imagination out of the corner of my eye. It wasn't anything. When you do that, you're more likely to just have the things that will scare you come into your reality. Once you work through that, you can get to where you can experience myriad of amazing life forms that you just can't even believe exist. And they're there, like waiting for us to realize that they're there. And they're not demons. It's part of the natural reality that we exist within. What they have done is scared people so that they don't want to experience things. Yes, there are things that are scary. There are things that are not pleasant. There are things that are not good. There are things that are evil. But there are many, 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 many things that are amazing, that are wonderful, that aren't even remotely connected to those things. And once you start to realize that, and you get through those stages of fear, you can tap into some of these other things that will show you. It's you have to do the work on yourself if you don't already know how to do it. So like if you don't already have these experiences, and even if you do have some of them, you can have more. You can expand your abilities. You can expand your perception, because literally creation is limitless. There's a fire elemental it was at a place where there's a town that doesn't exist anymore, where everybody died from, they say it was the Black Plague. I don't know if it was the Black Plague. I've heard that actually it wasn't the plague, but it was another illness that was back during that period of time. But at any rate, there's a cemetery a little ways away from this forest where this is, in a different part of it, I should say. And so it's drawn a lot of people to go up there and kind of mess around, but not in this particular place. People have gone up and they've done some other rituals. It's not the cemetery. So this area in and of itself is very beautiful. And the waterway there is beautiful, and everything is amazing and beautiful. But there are areas up there in the forest where it's, there's been some stuff done that shouldn't have been done. But at any rate, this is just, it's a fire elemental. And there's been a lot of fires had up there, like campfires or whatever. There's been fires up there. So there it is. And there it is. And in case you're wondering, this is an old logo that I made decades ago. Okay, maybe 15 years ago, 16 at least. It was just one of the first logos I kind of threw together when I had myself branded a different way. This series of images was taken on one of the days when I went with a former friend of mine up into the forest to intentionally get pictures of beings. There's days when I've done it accidentally and days when I've done it intentionally. This is one of those intentional trips where I wanted someone to go with me and to take some pictures of me while I gave permission to entities to use my energy field. Now, this isn't entities like in, weird, bad places. This is in the forest. This is nature spirits and things that exist in the wild, in the forest, deep in the forest. And so during that period of time, when we were just about ready to leave, I saw a shimmering beam of light. And so I did see this, but what I saw it as was different than how it shows up in the picture. So what I saw it as was a shimmering beam of white light that went from the sky down to the ground. And it was just a big, wide, shimmering beam of light. It was huge. And it moved all about the ground. So it was in different positions in different pictures. So this is the first image that I took of it. And you can clearly see it looks like a little rainbow light tornado. Like there. And then it's the second image. And you can see that it's in a different position with relation to the tree line. That's a stump. Most people in this image see spirit entities in this, and like nature spirit entities in it. So if you see something in there, I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of people do. And there's no right and no wrong, because it's going to come through to you however it is that it's meant to come through for you, because that's the way this stuff works. It's kind of like the way musicians say about their songs. So there's the vortex. And then this is the next image of the vortex. And you can clearly see it's still there. And then as it started to dissipate just a little bit, and you can see it's a little bit weaker on image number 4, where the color is starting to go away down there at the point. So it was pretty concentrated there and there and there. And now it's slightly less, but you can still see it's there. And then as it dissipated, this orb came out of it. And again, you can see that that's not a speck of dust. So it's a shimmering green, aqua green orb. And I've got images where I've blown that up pretty large, and you can see things in it. It's beautiful. So in between image number 3 and number 4, I actually turned for a control photo and took a picture off in another direction behind me of the trees, just a random picture of the trees, and then turned back to take image number 4. Again, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to pause this again so that I can double check that everything is still recording, and I will be back for the next segment in a moment.